welcome to the Momversation Club, the podcast born out of the idea that every mum needs a tribe. I'm Claire Strong.
And I'm Christina Struckmeyer. We're two moms just like you, navigating the chaotic, challenging, and often isolating world of motherhood.
Now, it's said that it takes a village to raise a child, but we want to know, where the F is that village?
It's a question that resonates with so many of us who find ourselves raising children, managing careers, and trying to maintain our own identities, often with a sense of isolation.
But we're here to remind you that you're not alone. The Momversation Club is your village, a place where you can feel valued, appreciated, and understood.
We believe that by sharing our own experiences, successes, and struggles, we can create a virtual village for all you amazing moms out there.
So join us every week for an honest, raw, and relatable discussion about all aspects of being a mum, including the stuff you just can't talk about with anyone else.
So if you've ever asked yourself where the F is that village, then you found your tribe. Let's get into it.
We are so excited to have a special guest on the show today. Katie Fenske is a potty training expert. Hi, Katie. Welcome to the Momversation Club.
Oh, I'm so glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well,
Katie, I'm so glad you're here. I'm just going to say,
I'm so glad that you're here.
The minute we got Katie booked for this episode, I said, perfect timing, because I am entering the stage of life where Katie is an expert in. So I know that it's going to be so fun for you guys to hear from her and her expertise. But Katie, why don't you go ahead and tell our audience a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Well, I am first and foremost a mom of three. So I have three boys. It's crazy town over here. They are just turned 10, 6, and 4. So I am officially out of the potty training world. But when you were like, oh my gosh, I need to talk to her. That's how moms are. When you enter potty training, it's all of a sudden like, oh gosh, like I'm in it. I'm doing this. So yes, I am a certified potty trainer. Never in a million years thought I would do this. My first experience potty training, my oldest son, was probably the hardest parenting thing I've ever done. So the fact that this is where I am now is like, I've just come full circle. So
I want to know, Katie, sorry, Christina, I just want to jump in there before we move on. What made you decide to make a career of this? Because it's one thing potty training your kids, and it's another thing thinking, oh my gosh, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. Talk to us about that.
So the oldest one, it was a terrible experience, like months and months of pooping his pants, not knowing what to do. I personally felt like the biggest failure as a mom. And then when it came time to potty train my second, things went a lot better. And then at the time I was about to potty train my third, I started having like friends start asking me, you know, how do I do this? You've done this before. And like out of the woodwork, you know, like people started asking me, and I'm like, I haven't talked to this lady in 2 years. How funny. It was just like things were coming together. So I started helping local moms, and that felt really good. It felt good to know, like, it felt like I was helping myself from, 5 years ago. And knowing that like I have the answers to help them. So I potty trained my second son. And while I did that, I was like, you know what? I'm going to start a social media account where I just kind of share my tips and like day in the life of potty training. People need to see how fun that is. I kind of took off. Like TikTok, it like started growing, and I was blown away by how many moms had the same questions. And they were like, I don't know where to go for help. Like, I don't have the answers. And I'm like, I have the answers. This feels so good. So it was 2 years ago, I started just doing one-on-one consultations. I did decide to go ahead and get a certification. So I am a certified potty trainer. So what that means is I took a course. I passed a test. I had to do all of that. But as I was going through the course, what I realized was I was doing it because I wanted like that credibility. I wanted to say like on paper, like I can do this. But what I realized when I took the course was, oh my gosh, I know all of this because I have actually been through it. Because I know what I'm doing, my kids were not easy to potty train. They were regular old kids having normal reactions to potty training, but that's what moms need to know about. So I got my certification, and I've been doing that for the last 2 years.
What did that, and this might be an odd question, but what did the training look like? Because how can you know, I mean, are you replicating a creepy bum? Or I mean,
It
how
was
exactly?
mostly it just virtual and online, basically running through every situation you're going to come up with against, and how to handle it, and also like how to start your business and how to like manage parents and stuff like that. So it's things that will come up in potty training and how to handle it, and like the best methods that work for most families.
I'm so glad you're here because, on our podcast, we talk about like where the F is the village, right?
Mhm.
And so much of potty training with my first, I thought, oh, I'll just ask the village. I'll just ask my mom or my grandma or my friends. And what I came across was out of my friends, we were all in the same space. So it was like the blind leading the blind. And with my mom and grandma, like the things that they did, I'm like, I don't know about that. That seems a little outdated, or things that I wouldn't do.
Sounds potentially
So
illegal.
yeah, maybe. And so I was like, kind of,
Months, and it's like, well, that's not how people do it anymore. Like, we're not all able to do that. Yeah.
yeah. And then you'll hear from like people that have these miracle ways of like, oh yeah, I got my potty training done in one weekend or 24 hours or something. And you're like, well, why is my kid doing this, and this? So I'm so glad you're here because what we've talked about is, with the village having it be so different these days, you kind of have to make shift your village. And so it sounds to me like you're becoming the part of some of these people, the people that you're helping, their village.
Yes. The thing I love the most is a lot of times when I'm talking to parents, they do have like the right instincts. Like moms know, but you're just kind of second guessing yourself. You're like, well, I think my daughter is this, and that's why it's not working. And I'm like, yes, nail on the head. You got it. This is what you can do to move forward. And she's like, gosh, it's so nice to just be able to talk to someone. And like I always tell parents, like, I am not here to judge you. If you done this thing, if I am not telling you you're bad, you're wrong, like I'm helping you get through it. Just hearing their sigh of relief of it's so nice to be able to talk to someone. That's like my favorite.
So tell me, Katie, because I'm in the season of potty training and I definitely will like be utilizing your services probably. But I have an almost 2-year-old. She's turning 2 in September. And this is about the time with the last one that I was kind of like, well, maybe we should start doing that. And she's showing some early signs, but for most of your clients, like how do you know when to start, going that direction? Like
Right.
what are the signs?
I remember when I potty trained my oldest, everyone kept saying, my village kept saying, oh, I heard it's when they can sing their ABCs. Well, I've got a 6-year-old and I don't even think he can sing his ABCs yet. So having that as the guide, I would have been all off. So we look for behavioral characteristics. So in between the ages of like 2 and 3, you start seeing kids wanting to do things independently, like me do it. Like I want to put my shoes on, things that we as moms are like, it's going to take you forever to dress yourself. But that's a sign that they can do things independently. Other things is they can communicate their needs. So this is not like speech. It is, if they want water, do they have a way of telling you they want water? So whether they do a sign for it or if they say wah wah, like somehow they're able to communicate their needs. My middle son was speech delayed, and everyone says, oh, speech delays, you have to wait on potty training. He was my easiest. So
Wow.
doesn't stop you at all. Start looking for, does she undress herself? Like, does she try and take her clothes off herself? Because that's like a skill they just have to know how to do to potty train. Is she aware that she goes poop or pee in her diaper? So is she saying she's wet? Does she hide in a corner to go poop? Those are all signs that they're aware of that bodily function. Does she copy you? So does she want to like stir the bowl like you do? Like, mommy, take out the trash like you. Like they imitate what you're doing. So again, that's another thing that we want them to imitate us using the bathroom. So showing signs that they can copy. And then following simple directions. So if you say, put the toy on the table, if they're able to follow that simple step, you're good to go. So a lot of people just say, well, at what age do we do it? What's the best age? There isn't, I would say, like this hard, fast window where if you do it too soon, it's not going to work. Or if you wait too long, you've missed the window. Because that's how I felt with my first. I was like, I'm missing the window. generally between 2 and 3 is a good place to start doing it. So like if you have a kid who's almost 2, start preparing, think about what you're going to do, block off some dates. If you have a 3-year-old, you're probably good to go to start doing it. For my kids, 2.5 was like the sweet spot for us.
I don't know whether you felt the same, ladies, but I remember when I was potty training my girls, they're teenagers now, so it's been a while since I was in that stage, but I did feel this social pressure from people, that checking in with, are they potty trained yet?
Mm-hmm.
Are they still wearing nappy? Well, nappies are diapers in England. Are they, they're still wearing a nappy? Well,
Yes.
she's 3. And actually, I did manage to go at my own pace with that. And I think because I did leave it a little longer with my eldest particularly, we really never had any accidents. In fact, we didn't even, I don't know whether this is a good thing, but we kind of actually bypassed the potty a little bit and went straight to the toilet with a seat on it, like a little kid's seat on the toilet. But is that something that you're still seeing, Katie, that mums feel pressured because they're not maybe at the same, level as another mum whose child's a similar age to yours?
Oh my gosh, I even felt that way. Like I remember going to the park and thinking, these moms are going to see my son in a diaper. Do you think they're going to judge me that he's not potty trained yet? I'm like, what is wrong? Like, yes, you definitely feel that pressure. But what I tell parents is maybe your child's 1000% ready, but you're just not there yet. It's okay. Like if you know I can't take off time from work right now, or we've got a big trip coming up, I can't potty train right now. That's fine. Like it's going to happen. I wouldn't wait too long. Like I had a client who had a 5-year-old and she's like, he's going to start kindergarten soon. He was definitely capable of doing it. There are kids that for different reasons will not be able to start that soon. But she was like, I don't know what to do. He's 5 now. I'm like, okay, these are the steps we're going to take and we're going to get him there. But you can start 2, you can start 3. It's going to happen.
I love that you said that with the being ready thing, because I think that that's been my thing where it's like, she's ready. Like she is ready and she's taken off her pants and she's telling me the things. And we actually have a babysitter that comes on Mondays and Fridays and helps me do the podcast. And when she is with the babysitter puts her in potty training panties and potty trains when she's here and she does it.
Oh my.
And so I know, she's just potty trained on Mondays and Fridays. She's just part-time. But I myself, I'm a stay-at-home mom and I'm trying to figure out, okay, like if I start potty training her, that means that I'm going to have a potty in my car. I'm going to have to figure out where the potties are. We're going to have to time things out. Like there's a lot of mental stuff as a mom to keep track of when you decide to make that jump. And you can't like dilly-dally. I know that as a previous potty trainer person, like that once you go, you kind of have to be consistent. And so how do you help moms prep for that? Because it is a lot to think about.
But I think that was such a great comment that you had. It was like, just know once you start, there's no going back. I personally, like after like the 4th day, we would like start leaving the house and like go to do something. And I'm like, man, it would have been so easy. Just throw a diaper on him and we're good for hours instead of I've got to pack a million things now. I've got to make sure we go to the bathroom, but that's temporary. It's short. So prepping wise, I usually tell parents that if they're going to start potty training to like put on their calendar when it's going to be, like block off a certain amount of time where it's not, we don't have any busy trips. We don't have any like crazy schedules. Sometime where it's like kind of mellow. And I always say like, you're going to want like 3 to 4 days to really be home. So I've had parents say, okay, we have Saturday, Sunday, and then they go back to daycare for 5 days. And I'm like, that's really tough. That's tough for a kid to unlearn wearing a diaper in 2 days. Some can. And like, if that happens, you've won the jackpot. That's awesome. My boys never learned it that fast. But if you can block off a couple days at home to like really work on it. So you've got your calendar set. We're starting like next month. Start reading potty books. I always like doing, just a little story. Those are not like end all. Like if I read these books, my kids will have no problem potty training. But it is a good way to like get used to the vocabulary, get comfortable talking about pee and poop all the time. Practice autonomy. So letting your child undress themselves, letting your child take 20 minutes to put their shoes on, but at least you're teaching them like you are able to do things by yourself. I also moved the like changing station into the bathroom. So instead of like going to the changing table, doing the diaper changes in there for like a week or two before I started potty training, I would move to the bathroom just to kind of like start associating bodily functions happen in the bathroom. And then also like if she does tell you she's wet or like goes to the corner to poop, just like bring an awareness to that. Say like, oh, I see you're going poop. Okay, good job. Like just so she's starting to have like some heightened awareness. And then for parents, like just know once you start, you're going all in. It doesn't have to be perfect, but there's light at the end of the tunnel. once you're past that, it's going to be great.
Yeah, I mean, I've got two teenagers now, and I know your kids are older as well, Katie. So I think you can look back and think, actually, it wasn't that long, and it wasn't that bad, really. In the moment, it probably feels like it's an eternity, and it's the worst thing ever. But that too shall pass. One thing I did like that you said a few minutes ago, Katie, was basically, looking out and considering like the parent, the mum in all of this. So it's, for your schedule too, this should work for you. It's not all about, if your child's ready. It's whether, are you ready? Do you have the time and capacity to, to oversee this? And I liked how you're kind of almost putting, the needs of the mum right up there with the needs of the child, because ultimately it's generally us guys that are that are doing all of this.
95% of potty training is the parent, and the kids just kind of along for the ride. Like, yes, they're the ones peeing and pooping, but you are doing all the hard work. I was pregnant with my third when my second one was like totally ready to potty train, and the thought of potty training him while like 7 months pregnant, I was like, I can't do this. And my mom's like, are you sure you want to do it before the baby comes? I'm like, I can't do it. We waited till the baby was born. My husband was still on leave, and he potty trained like the easiest of all of them. So I waited till I was ready. I had the like patience, the time, the energy to do it.
And I did too, because I was in a similar situation. I was pregnant while my eldest was like a 2-year-old. And I remember thinking, I am not going to go there right now. I need to get this baby delivered and get situated with her, and then we'll look at that. Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So Christina, so are you finding some of this helpful? Because you are in the thick of it
Super
right now,
helpful.
aren't you? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking about the way you guys are talking about this, and it kind of feels similar to the way I felt when we went from drinking formula as our main source of nutrition to going to food. I was like, oh my God, this is going to make everything so much longer. And I can't just give her a bottle in the car. And like, I have to wait for her to eat her strawberries and it's going to get everywhere. And like, it's just, I remember being like very, oh gosh, this next stage is going to be making things a lot harder. The same way I felt about the car seat when it went from infant drop-in seat to having to strap her. It's just they're growing up, and as their needs change, you have to change. And sometimes I don't want to change just yet.
I know. Yeah, I understand that. But listen, Katie, I want to know, what are some of the common mistakes parents make when it comes to potty training? What are the big ones that you see a lot
I
of?
don't want to call them mistakes, because that like,
okay.
A lot of the parents I talk to, and they're like, I think I did this wrong. I think I did this wrong. I'm like, you didn't do anything wrong. Like, you are learning how to do this along with your child, especially if it's your first. And if it's not your first, like the client I had yesterday, she's like, my oldest was so much easier. I don't understand what I'm doing wrong with this one. I'm like, your daughter's different than your son and having a totally different reaction. So, but some things that I tell clients to maybe readjust, over prompting. So constantly talking about potty. Like, do you have to go to the bathroom? Oh my gosh, you look like you're doing the pee dance. Should we go to the bathroom? Should we do this? Like, some kids get very high anxiety, and that like just meltdown, especially right now. I don't know if it's COVID babies. I don't know what it is, but we're seeing a very high rate of kids feeling anxiety and then holding their pee all day long, like scared. So first thing I tell parents is like, just don't even mention potty training. Just keep like the prompting to an absolute minimum and just kind of go about your day, but be supportive.
I was going to say, before we pass that up, Katie, that's so interesting that you say that, because I have an older one who was fine to go to the bathroom at school before
Mm-hmm.
COVID and at preschool, daycare, all that stuff. And then once things, we went on that gap of time where there was no school and then we went back to school, she holds her pee till she gets
Yeah.
home. She only pees in
Mm,
spots that are comfortable for
yeah.
her. And she also won't go to the bathroom unless you remind her, and she is able to like know. I do a lot of like, hey, it looks like it's about a few hours since you've gone to the bathroom. Let's do a potty
Right.
break. And like, I have to go to the bathroom. You have to go to the bathroom. Let's just try. And you don't have to, but let's try.
Yeah.
But yeah, she doesn't like listen to her body the way she used
Uh,
to a few years
that's
ago.
interesting. And just the fact that
Mm.
like, okay,
Yeah.
so another misconception is that parents expect kids to self-initiate like really soon. So self-initiate is like telling you they have to go or go to the bathroom themselves. And honestly, with like a 2.5-year-old, it is not reliable for about 6 months to a year. So like in that first year, you're kind of done with the initial potty training, but you're still having to remember, how much did you just drink? When was the last time you went to the bathroom? Okay, we're going to be in the car for an half an hour. I need to make sure you go. So like it's still on your brain. So a lot of parents are like, I don't get it. We spent a week of bare buns and they were going to like, I could get her to go to the bathroom and now she's not even telling me. Well, sometimes they just need a little bit more like reminders and, hey, we're about to have dinner. We're going to go use the potty first. Like kids this age just need some more assistance. So that's one a lot of I don't get
Yeah.
why they like,
Yeah. And they get distracted too. Like if
Yeah.
you're playing with your toys, you don't want to stop to go potty, even if you might feel the urge to go. You're like, well, I still want to play with these
yep,
trucks.
100%. Yes, yes. Okay, so another one is now I don't mean this in a bad way, Christina, dabbling with potty training. Not in the sense, not
Oh.
I would say this
Just gonna
like we're gonna try potty training for an hour or like a couple days and then we'll re-diaper like just because it's convenient. I usually tell parents like if you're gonna start, just go all in. Like this is the day to do it, go all in.
Mm.
She doesn't seem like she's getting like confused by it, does she? She's not like not wanting to.
She's an abnormal child, Katie. she, she sits to read books. She's 20 months. Like she like talks all the time. It gets
Yeah.
crazy. So my first was not like that. She was a typical child, like in all of those
Mhm.
ways. But yeah, the dabbling thing, I would think that. Like I remember when we first started introducing it, I said, I'm not ready to introduce that because I can't be consistent Monday through Thursday or Tuesday through Thursday. But then we saw that she just, it goes along with it. And when that person's here, she knows that's his time to go on this potty and we bring it to a location she's
Mhm.
in. And she just takes off
Oh,
her, like she has pull up
that's
panties
awesome.
and not pull ups, but like cloth panties that are for potty
Yeah.
training. And she takes them off and she just goes and then
I
puts them
think you're
back
gonna have
on.
a piece of cake. It's gonna be easy for you.
When I decide to go, I think I might have to after this conversation. It'd be really embarrassing if I didn't.
It gets to the point
Oh
where
my
you're like,
gosh.
okay, yeah, I have a couple of days where I have no meetings and I don't have to like stress about it. Mostly like if you were
Yeah.
like, okay, I have a meeting here and I have to do this, then it's just too much on you.
For me, it's the piece of not being home that is holding me back, right? Because as a stay-at-home mom, I'm okay. Like if she wants to just wear like little
Mhm.
trainer panties for like 4 or 5 days, I can watch her, I can do those things. But I gotta go get older sister. I gotta drop her off and pick her up, take her to gymnastics, and then we're taking the little one to play
Yeah.
groups. And like, what do you do there? Because all they have is adult potties. And like, do I cart around a little seat? Like, it's a whole
Yeah.
thing to think
This is
about.
what I learned from my third though, because I was kind of in the same situation. I potty trained. Um, my older two were in school. We had to do school pickup. My older son was in baseball, so I'm like, I'm not missing like a 2-hour game, but I have a newly potty trained kid. I decided I'm just going to keep going about my day, and I'm going to bring way more clothes and way more underwear than I need. And if he has an accident, that's life. And I think that was better than my first. My first, I like stayed home. I didn't leave until I was like, he's not going to have any accidents. And then if he did, I was like, he had an accident at the playground. Oh my gosh, it was the worst day ever. Instead of just being like, you're new at this. I'm expecting a lot of you, and here's another pair of pants. I went in just much calmer, I think, the third time around, just knowing like we do have a busy schedule and it's hard to be home for an entire week. You can't do that.
Well, and that theory too of like the way that you're presenting it and the way that you're feeling about it, I think leaks onto them as well. For lack of a better word, leaks. Potty language. But I think that, they do feel, I've seen my 20-month-old experience embarrassment and like some form of shame. Like, oh, I dropped my milk. I better like hide the fact that I dropped the milk. So if you're chastising them about whether they had an accident or not, they're going to feel that versus, that's bummer. Like, let's change our pants now.
That's my go-to phrase. Oh, bummer, your pants are wet. Okay, let's use the potty next time. And honestly, I think my third got so used to using public bathrooms so quickly. Like, I didn't even bring my travel potty, my travel lid, because I probably just forgot. I had a million things on my mind. So the first time he went, it was in this like nasty park bathroom. And I'm like, hey, I'm going to hold you here. Okay, let's go. And he, since then, has just been using regular bathrooms.
It's my biggest nightmare, Katie. The biggest nightmare I have is we're going to be somewhere, she's being potty trained, and it's a porta potty situation. Like, I am like, I can't, we will pee outside.
The perk of having 3 boys. I'm always like, oh, I wish I had a girl. And then I'm like, but mine can pee on a bush. Okay, there is one perk.
I'm going to teach them because I was taught how to pee off of a pickup truck recently. And I feel like that's a skill we should all have as women.
Okay, you can't just move swiftly on from that. What did you say? Well, explain that.
No, because I am sometimes on the farm and we're very far out and there's no potty around and I have to pee like all the time. I'm a mom, right? Like when we have to pee, like, right? There is no wait. And so I'm not very good at squatting. And my husband, my best friend and I were out on the farm with my husband and we were touring the land. And she was just like, well, go to the bathroom. I'm like, I can't squat. I always pee on my legs. And she's like, pee off the pickup truck. And she taught me how to like open the doors and like block yourself and then lean against the pickup truck and pee.
Oh,
like squat against the pickup truck.
Well,
so anyways, adults training adults about potty habits.
I was going to
wouldn't recommend it in San Diego
today. Katie, you didn't know you were going to learn some information about adult potty training here, did you?
Know that one and add that to my.
I would.
I think it's just number 1, though. I don't think that.
Oh my god! Well, let's not go there. Hey, but listen,
let's not go there.
I want to know because we just touched upon like the difference between girls and boys. What are the differences between girls and boys when it comes to potty training? Are there different techniques that work better with girls over boys?
Not a ton of different. Okay, there is a myth that boys are harder to train, and that's not true. Like I looked back at all of my clients from last year, and it was almost exactly 50-50 with girls versus boys like struggling with it. So they aren't harder. Girls, you definitely want to teach them to wipe the correct direction. Boys, I always tell parents to have them sit to pee initially, just because that helps with pooping later. So like they don't have the patience to sit. So if they're like used to sitting when they go pee, then that helps with sitting to poop. But they pretty much learn to stand naturally. It's like instinctual for them. So I always say when they start gravitating towards standing, then you can move to it. It's not like you don't have to rush to do it. For boys, I always say when they're standing, tell them to push their tummies out. Like if they stick their tummy out, it helps with the angle and then they're not peeing on their shoes. I learned that.
Okay. I'm thinking about your toilet because we both have girls. And like your toilet area must have to get cleaned a lot when you're potty.
I do have a sticker in my boys' toilet. It's a Target, and it's like it literally sticks on your toilet. And it has been there for months, but my boys are so excited about it. But I was like, I'm excited because now you'll actually pee on that and not like look all over the place and get. Yes, the bathroom is disgusting.
Oh my gosh. That's one thing we don't have to worry about with the girls, Christina.
No, but we have other things. Like, you know, we have a whole situation during puberty that they don't have.
I always say to my brothers, my brother has 2 little boys. And initially, when my girls were younger, I was like, oh gosh, I'm so glad I've got girls. They're so much easier than my brother's boys. Now it's like, okay, like what crisis am I dealing with today? So we girls of mums, we do
That's what
get
everyone
payback
says.
later.
Boys are hard when they're young, and girls are hard when they're older. So I'm like, please tell me I'm putting in my time now, because they are they're young. Oh my gosh.
Katie, going back to missteps, because earlier I had mentioned that my babysitter purchased like these cotton underwears that's got a little bit more absorbent in the crotch area. I want to know, what is your take on the whole pull-up situation? Because I have seen it be a very heated debate on social media about whether you should use them or not.
What I'm going to say is, if you have chosen to use them, no judgment. Like, they are marketed to moms to help with potty training. Like, their job is to sell their product. So of course they're pushing them. I believe that they are confusing for kids because they pretty much feel like a diaper. They're absorbent, so a child doesn't really feel like they're wet. And because they're used to peeing in a diaper and you put on something that feels like a diaper, it is kind of the same thing. So I personally have never bought a pull-up, and I've been able to potty train without using them. For nights, I will just use a diaper, just a regular diaper. So, but if you do use them, or if your daycare requires them, no judgment. Like, we're all trying to do our best, but I stay away from them because they look and feel like diapers. I have found most kids learn potty training the fastest if you keep them bare buns for a couple days, so naked from the waist down, and then move to commando, so loose shorts with no underwear, and then underwear after that. So I think the pants you're talking about are like training underwear. Like,
they are.
So I have used those maybe initially in potty training when I knew we were going somewhere where an accident would be kind of bothersome. Yeah.
Likely.
So like my mom wanted to go to the movie theater. My son was like a week into potty training, and I'm like, are you sure this is a good idea? Like, we don't really want this to be a problem. So in that case, I was like, we're using the training underwear just because it's more absorbent. And that one, they'll actually feel wet. So unlike the pull-up, it kind of like wicks it away. Also on a road trip, I remember putting the training underwear on him because I'm like, you don't want to do this car.
See, I'm like, do I puppy pad the car seat? Or
I did. At the time, I was able to get removable, disposable car seat liners where you literally just stick it in the car seat and it had like space for the buckle, and you rip it out and throw it away and put a new one in. They're no longer available. I cannot find them anywhere. And anytime I would post about them, there was a certain car seat.
I was going to say, they will come after you. Like, if you say anything about car seat,
was like, you're never supposed to put anything in the car seat that's not like part of the car seat. And I was like, okay. I always tell clients, I'm like, do what you feel safe with. Like the manual says, don't put anything in there. This little sticky fabric saved me from having to wash my car seat. So that's where I felt safe.
Yeah, because that's the worst. Washing your car seat is the freaking worst. I had to do it recently. I made the decision to hand her an applesauce pouch, which was a horrible decision. I regretted it instantly because she decided she would just tip it over and squeeze it. And I was like, I'll just baby wipe this and it'll be fine. And the next day, ants all up in my car.
Oh, no.
I don't know how they sensed it from the farm life, man. But I had to take the whole thing apart, and it's a whole pain in the ass to take the car seat apart and do all the things.
And I think having just like a liner or a puppy pad, it just gave me the confidence. Like, we can get out of the house, and this isn't going to destroy my day. Like, I'll just rip it out. They do make washable ones, so I have seen those where you can like take them off and wash those. Okay. So that is a nicer version than having to wash the whole car seat.
This is all so helpful, Katie. Like, I know that if there's someone listening who is either going into potty training or in the thick of it right now and like doing the dilly-dally thing that I'm doing, they are going to get so much from this podcast conversation.
We should have said at the beginning, have a notepad ready if you're in
I've been taking notes as we're talking.
Oh my God, one of the biggest misconceptions is that you're going to be done in 3 days. And I tell parents all the time, like, don't go in thinking that in 3 days potty training is over, because then if it's like your child's not getting it, you feel awful about yourself. Most kids don't get it that fast. So, I mean, you learn a ton in 3 days and they're ready to go out in public and, you know, you can move about your day, but you're still like potty training mode after 3 days.
So how long typically could you expect your child to become potty trained then? You know, like the average child, I hate to use that word average because every child's different, but generally speaking, from like day one to, you know, being able to actually go places and generally
Right.
be accident free.
This is how I describe it. I describe the first day as 99% of your thoughts are potty training. Like you are in potty training mode. You're watching your child pretty much every second, not hovering and freaking them out, but just like wherever my child is, my eyes, I'm in the room with them, you know. Day 2 and 3, pretty similar, but you're kind of backing off a little bit. I would say the first week, after the first week, you're maybe thinking about it 75% of the time. Then you get to like week 2 or 3 and it's like 50% of the time I'm talking about it. By day 3, you should be able to leave the house and do something, whether it's a walk around the block or a trip to Starbucks drive-through or just like little outings. Or with my third, it was like, you're going to a 2-hour baseball game. Usually it's the month mark where parents are like, oh, I think we're like there. I think we're like, I see that light. I'm good. I'm still like reminding my child to go. I'm still like conscious of how much they're drinking, but we're like over the hump. So I wouldn't say like it's going to be a month long of torture, but it's like intense work. Then a week of like, oh my gosh, did we really do this? I wish I could go back, but no, we're pushing through. We're good. Then like the 2-3 week mark, you're like, oh yeah, my child's been potty trained for 3 weeks. And then the month you're like, okay, I'm good to go. Are there going to be accidents after that? Probably. Like every once in a while, you're going to forget to have your child go, or they're going to be distracted by something. Or what I learned is if they eat tons of watermelon, watermelon's a diuretic. And my son one day, randomly, we had a little get together at our house. He was eating tons of water, like no joke, like a half a watermelon. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh my God, he just peed his pants. Like, this is weird. And then he did it again. So I was thinking, okay, we've got company over. So he's totally distracted. He ate a ton of watermelon. And then I also saw that night that he had molars coming in. So I'm like, okay, so one of those 3 things caused some random accidents. But it wasn't like, oh my gosh, I have to go back to diapers now. It was, we just did a random regression. It's okay.
I was just prepping for such a different story, Katie, because you said diuretic. And I was like, oh my God.
I thought I was thinking too. I was thinking that too. But listen, Katie, I mean, we have touched upon this, but you know, the whole thing is very stressful for mums in particular. Yeah. You know, it can be you question your confidence. It can be a really stressful time. So what type of emotions do you see mums go through that you help?
Usually when they book a consultation, they're like at their wit's end. It's usually like, we're on day 2. Do you have an opening in an hour? Can I talk to you? Because you feel like you put so much time into preparing. Like most of these moms have read books, have taken a course, have probably surveyed their entire like friend group, heard that their friends' kids were already potty trained, and they're like, oh my gosh, what's wrong with me? So of course you're going to be frustrated. You're going to be like, I just need to talk to someone. The biggest thing I learned from potty training my own kids was that my emotions, you said that kids pick up on it. So if you are freaking out, if you're constantly like, do you have to go to the bathroom? Are we going to go to the bathroom? If your anxiety is heightened, they tend to feel the same way. So I learned with my third that I was only going to mention potty training once every 30 minutes. So even though I was like, oh my gosh, like I think he's going to have to use the bathroom. Oh my gosh, I think he's going to have an accident. I just said one time at the beginning, if you have to go to the bathroom, there's the potty. And then I just let it go. In the first day, the goal is just to get them peeing without a diaper. So if pee is on the floor, you just go, oh, you're going pee, get it in the potty. And that's fine. Like, don't expect pee in the potty on the first day or 2. So I felt like that helped me, like, don't mention it. Just go about your day. Like, let's do some fun new activities. I always like ended up getting like a new Play-Doh kit or just something fun to do at home because it's a long day. So you have things that like entertain the mom also.
Yeah, I remember there was a day in potty training with my first where I was doing the whole like reward her with the Reese's Pieces. Like I had this little mason jar of Reese's Pieces. And I was so stressed out that I literally like shotgunned the Reese's Pieces like a shot. And I was like, potty training's the worst.
Wait, never in
Oh
my
my
life
God.
have I had to like focus on my child so much than in potty training. Even when they were infants, you could put them
Yeah.
down and like take a break. This is like, and especially when it's a verge of going poop, because my kids all held it for a couple days, which is totally normal. But by that third day, you're like, I know you need to go poop, and I'm just going to sit here and like be on guard so that I can pick you up and put you on the potty. Never in my life have I had to focus so much on them. It's exhausting. It's so tiring. It was just a couple weeks ago that we got in the car to go somewhere, and it was like a 45-minute drive. And once we got there, I told my husband, I was like, oh my God, I didn't even like tell my kids to go to the bathroom before we left the house. Like it didn't even cross my mind. But, you know, a year ago, it would have been like, all of you get in the bathroom. I want to see you go pee. So you will get there.
Well, that's really reassuring. And how can people, you know, if there are mums listening to this that really are at the wit's end or they just need some reassurance and advice, how can they get in touch with you, Katie?
Okay, so on social media, you can find me at It's Potty Time. I have a website where you can book a consultation. So it's burntpancakes.com. That also is the name of my podcast. I have a podcast for moms just like you. I love it.
I was just going to say, plug the pod.
Yes, which our listeners, you will love this podcast. So please, please follow her and subscribe. She is great.
And thank you so much for having me on, because you guys are so fun to chat with. And I love your podcast so much.
Yeah, and Katie, I will be in touch about this whole situation. And people who are listening, stay tuned to our social media to see my potty training adventures. Yeah. I'll be tagging.
I honestly, I feel like it's going to be so easy for you. Just get it done, and you'll be smooth sailing.
I'm going to take that in, and that will. On that note, thanks so much, Katie, for coming on. And Momversation Club listeners, again, we will have information on how to get in touch with Katie. But It's Potty Time on Instagram is such a fun follow. So definitely follow her on there.
And that brings us to the end of another episode of the Momversation Club.
And if you've enjoyed today's show, which we hope you have, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a review. Your support helps us reach even more moms and build a stronger village.
Until next time, bye.